computer, because that makes it easier to do it says recording. Okay, go live. Someone's asking me to add a title. No, I'll add the title later. All right.
All right.
Live. We should be live. Let me just do this. Closing. Yeah, this has been real, learning this technology is more than an ocean. But
they didn't teach it in law school. They weren't even teaching it in law school 6 months ago.
Right, I know. Okay, so we're live. I'm just gonna check the Facebook to make sure we're on. That people can see us on Facebook, and then we'll get this party started. So you said you were in court today?
Zoom court, yep.
Zoom court. Oh, yep, we're on. Okay. So, gosh, this is the afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. This is attorney Robyn McCoy with Robyn Legal, and we have a distinguished guest today, Magistrate Rick Halprin, who is also with Michigan Children's Law Center, where I used to work. And so welcome, Rick. And Rick is here to tell the audience about he's running for office. He's running for judge for the 45th District Court. So Rick, I read your bio. I mean, I know you, but interesting bio. So why don't you tell the audience some things about you?
All right. Well, Robyn, first of all, I want to thank you for having me on. I've watched you over the last month or so host a number of really interesting guests, and I got a lot of good information, a lot of insights from your various broadcasts. So I was really happy when you invited me to join you. What I can tell you and tell the world is I am running for judge in the 45th District Court, which covers Huntington Woods, Pleasant Ridge, Royal Oak Township, and Oak Park. I have lived in those communities for the better part of the last 30 years. I lived in Oak Park for 5 years and in Huntington Woods for about 25 years. And about the same length of time that I've been an attorney. I graduated in 1989 from U of D Law School and have been in private practice ever since. Started off in a general practice doing criminal law and commercial litigation mostly. Okay. Slowly drifted into more just doing criminal, and then into juvenile, and really the last 24 years or so, I've mostly been representing indigent populations in both criminal cases and civil cases as well. My wife is a director of William Booth Legal Aid Clinic, and I've been active with them over the last 9-10 years or so. So my contact with the community kind of has run the gamut from people that are struggling with trying to navigate the legal system, a lot of times with inadequate resources, and their attorneys are really the only ones that can really save the day for them. So one way or another, I've been practicing in the courts almost every day, all day for the last 20 years or so. And 2006, I was appointed to be a magistrate in the 45th District Court. And so I've been a magistrate there for 14 years. And I've seen it all.
Yeah, I saw from your website, it was saying 24,000 cases. That's a lot. That's a lot of cases.
It was kind of nuts. Well, when I decided that I was going to go for it and run for judge, I wasn't sure that I wanted to do it. I knew that I would be good. I knew I was the perfect fit, but you have to be a politician, at least for a period of time, to run for judge. And that's not my background. And the background is being an attorney and being a writer, a journalist, musician, and an artist, but not a politician. So I had to figure out, especially now in a pandemic, how do you run for office?
And what's that been like? Like, how do you do that in the middle of a pandemic? I mean, are you canvassing? Are you doing a lot of Zoom meetings, or how are you getting your message to the voters?
I really have had to draw from all of my other experiences as a writer. I was a film critic at one time. I'm an artist currently, and you had to start getting really creative because you can't go door to door. You can't be the guy or the person who shows up at the door knocking. people, especially if they don't know you, even if they do know you, they don't want you showing up unannounced at their house, and especially if you're a stranger. And then these days, of course, you're even more of a stranger, because if you are going to show up at somebody's house, you'd have to be wearing a mask. So
Right.
it's basically a no-no. You can't do it. So it was other things. It was I think the number one P word of 2020 was pandemic. The number two word was pivot.
Okay.
So anything you ever thought about running running a campaign had to change, and you had to do other things. So a lot of it was through social media, whether it's Zoom or Facebook or emailing, or you just had to get creative. Going door to door just wasn't an option. Holding regular fundraisers wasn't an option. Attorneys love to get together for fundraisers, even though they got to cut a check, but they get something to eat, they get something to drink, they get to commiserate,
Right.
and you can't do it. So we've done some Zoom kind of events, but it's not the same thing. But it's a level playing field. It's not the same for anyone. So we've all had to reinvent the process of campaigning.
Okay. And then, yeah, so that is it. It has been a different climate, and I know when I looked at your website, it was talking about what the role that you currently have as a magistrate compared to what the role would be for you as a judge. And right now, you're already doing a lot of what you would be doing as a judge. Is that correct?
That's true. The biggest difference, as you know, between magistrate and judge, one is magistrates are appointed, and judges are elected for 6-year terms. Judges uh, can hold jury trials. They can try any kind of misdemeanor charge. They can conduct probable cause hearings. Magistrates can take limited number of misdemeanor charges. There's even more of a limit of what we can actually have as in terms of a trial on misdemeanor charges, and we can waive probable cause hearings. We can't conduct them.
Okay.
Other than that, we arraign, we set bond, we do traffic cases, issue search warrants, issue bench warrants. We do small claims trials, uh, code violations, all those kind of things. Much of what the judges do.
Okay.
Yep,
And you said you've already been a magistrate for 14 years, so you're already familiar with the staff, everybody over there at the court where you're running.
it's true. There's been very little turnover in the last 14 years, and I do have a good rapport with the staff. Again, I went through a period of assessing: do I want to be a politician? Do I want to run for judge? What kind of support would there be out there? And I found that every time I came in to do a docket, somebody was saying to me, "So, you're going to be our next judge?" Or "So, you running?" Whether it was a court officer, court clerk, police officers, sometimes just members of the community who happen to be at the courthouse. And I started to get this feeling there's a lot of support out there for me. And then a couple of the clerks actually said to me that they're eligible to retire, but they're thinking maybe they won't retire if I'm the next judge, because they wanted to work with me. So
Oh,
I had that kind of support, and it was really kind of heartwarming and gave me a greater incentive to dive into this unknown of campaigning.
right. And then so how are things going as far as have you had endorsements?
I've had a few endorsements. I have not actively sought endorsements. I have found that the endorsements generally go to the first person who asks for them. I did not jump into this race quickly. Endorsements are largely a function, well, depending on what kind of endorsements you're talking about. Like, some people go to organizations for endorsements, things like UAW and things like that.
Okay.
And then you can also get endorsements from individuals. I've got tremendous support from the bench, from both Wayne County and Oakland County, judges, juvenile
Okay.
court referees, magistrates, well over 20 to 30 at a minimum have also, we're right there with you. And I've been picking brains, and they've been giving me advice. And so the endorsements I've got that really have mattered to me the most are the ones that are people that understand the court system, whether it's judges, police officers, the defense bar, prosecutors are all supporting me. The support's been broad-based. It's been bipartisan.
Okay.
I've had neighbors. I've had people I don't even know. I've had people come up to me in public places and say, "You may not remember me, but I came with my daughter to court last year because she did X, Y, or Z. And you were so kind, or you were so patient. It was a great learning experience, and just wanted to thank you." And I've had that happen to me countless times. And
Okay.
it makes me feel like I'm really connecting with people.
Okay, and then have you had a chance yet to get out to go to some of the meetings, like for some of the clubs, like the I don't know your area, like the Democratic or Republican club meetings or NAACP, things like that?
All by Zoom. No, we're not doing anything in person. So
Oh,
I get to the club meetings. I'm also a member, I'm a board member of Oak Park Youth Assistance. And
okay.
we meet at least once a month, sometimes twice a month. I'm on some subcommittees trying to figure out programming, fundraising opportunities, things that we can do to help kids get through the summer. I have spearheaded an initiative that we're just getting underway right now, where we're going to try to do a weekly show, or at least every other week, where I'm going to host someone that's from the community that has a day job but does something cool on the side, so the kids can see that you don't have to be one thing or the other. And so I've spoken with a celebrated artist from our community who happens to be works for one of the auto companies, as a designer by day, and
Oh,
he's extremely well known artist. And so we're going to do a talk. I'm an attorney, but I'm also an artist, and I do a lot of shows in the Detroit area. At least pre-pandemic I was. And
right.
so,
I know you had that really good the article that was in the legal news about that.
right, that was last year. It's hard to believe a year has passed. A year ago everything was normal. I think I did 3 or 4 shows in 2019. I had several lined up for 2020, and they've all been canceled. But so I'm going to a lot of meetings by Zoom, and we're just trying to come up with ideas to keep kids in the community engaged, because the last thing you want is kids sitting around getting into trouble because they're bored. So we've tried to come up with learning opportunities. So Zoom, as you know, Zoom is the way to get around these days. You Zoom and go nowhere all at once.
Right. We're definitely zooming it. We're learning how to, especially with the COVID, trying to be safe and everything. And so, and you're still working over at the juvenile court in Detroit.
By Zoom, yep, we're still
Yes.
doing those. We were sort of dormant for a while, but ever since mid to late May, the dockets have been picking up, and we're doing what we did before, but we're doing it by Zoom. And I know some jurists like it more than others. Some attorneys miss going to court. I think we probably all miss the camaraderie of being in court and seeing our colleagues and sharing our stories and asking each other questions about things. But what I've found is that the court has been essentially has been forced to be more efficient.
Right.
Um, I've always thought it was a good idea to have staggered dockets, so then you don't have 10 cases scheduled at 9. Why not do 9, 9:15, 9:30, and throughout the morning? And courts are doing that, not just in juvenile court, but in a lot of the district courts that I go to as well. And so they're forced to be more efficient with their time, and I think everyone's benefiting from it. People aren't having to
Right.
miss as much work. You're not getting stuck in a commute. And of course, the other thing is, for attorneys who are in multi-court practices, and may have to be in more than one court at a time, instead of driving from Detroit to East Point to Pontiac in a morning, you can do it all in one morning. And if you communicate well with the courts, no one gets mad at you. You can really accomplish a lot of things, and it's a lot more stress-free, and it seems to be a lot more efficient.
Yeah, I know there's been a lot of discussion about the courts and how the courts should get up with technology, and unfortunately through COVID it's forcing everybody to be more tech savvy. I know I've had times where I've had to be in 3 different courts, but like you said, it's actually a lot safer. I have 2 or 3 different 2 computers, a phone, and I check in, and I don't have to worry about running here, running there. As you know, life as a litigator can be pretty intense. Like you have to, if you're having to run from one place to another and trying to juggle a lot of things at once. And so I think that as far as efficiency, definitely for pleas and things, that it's definitely better to have the Zoom court. I think there is an issue though for some of the criminal cases as far as trials. And do you have a position as far as the cases, like for trials, like if it's how do you feel about having jury trials on Zoom as opposed to in person?
I can't I can't really imagine a way of doing jury trials by Zoom that would be a reasonable way of doing things. One, of course, there's the constitutional right of confrontation, but besides just the confrontation part, there are so many nuances to watching a witness in the course of a trial, what you'd call, like in a poker game, the tells. So if someone's tapping their foot or rubbing their kneecap, or they're twitching or doing other things that are not going to show up on a screen, it makes it harder to assess credibility. And same thing with a jury. You like to be able to see, as you're cross-examining a witness or making an opening or closing statement, how is the jury sitting? Are they moving? Are they getting bored? Are they engaged? When you've got to look at it on 12 or 13 different screens, like, it's going to be very confusing, very distracting. I don't think it's going to be doable. I think what's going to have to happen probably is that the courts are going to have to go to coordinate with each other and start doing jury trials in person at some point, and figure out a way how to spread the jurors out, because
Right.
it's not fair for people to give up their trial rights. And of course, the ones that have been incarcerated, we're coming up at 6 months now.
Right,
And
right. I know.
so,
I filed some motions for some clients that have been locked up, and yeah, it's intense. I did hear about Texas. I don't know. I heard about a case where they tried to do the jury trial via Zoom, and I think the juror was going in another room on the phone, and now they said they're trying to do it where they can, where they have it where there's one judge that presides over the jury trial, and then another judge that kind of regulates the jury to make sure the jury's on point. So I don't know. I think as far as pleas, I think that the prosecutors across the state need to be more progressive as far as trying to work out resolutions, viable plea resolutions, and we can certainly do pleas over Zoom for that, do the adjudications for that. But for trials, they're going to have to figure out a way for everybody to safely have trials, and not give away our clients' right to confrontation. And I've heard of situations too with preliminary exams where people, you have the issue about sequestering the witnesses, and there's a concern that if it's on YouTube, the other witness can watch it on their phone and know what's going on. How are you going to guarantee they're sequestered?
yeah, there's no way to have security against violation of sequestration orders. It's just not really going to doable. I think what I would envision eventually when it's going to happen is, I think they'll have to take courtrooms that are adjacent to each other and turn one courtroom into the jury room, so that they can be 6 or more feet apart, and let that be the juror's room. And then when they're in the courtroom, instead of sitting in a jury box, they'll have to sit out where the audience would typically sit, and put a couple of jurors in each row. And that might be the easiest, safest way to do it. And then courts will just have to coordinate so that 2 courtrooms that are next to each other wouldn't be able to have jury trials at the same time, but at least they can coordinate and move forward at the safest way possible. But of course, jurors are going to come up with their own reasons, even more so than they ever have, to not be on jury duty.
Right. I know. I remember
So,
before there were issues with jurors not wanting to come down to court, and now with COVID, I'm like, gosh, I don't know. That's going to be interesting for the courts to figure that out. So how are you doing? Normally I know we would go into people's homes to visit children. So what is that like in COVID? I mean, are you visiting via Zoom or Google or on the phone, or?
it's been it's been an exercise in creativity. Some people are very familiar and comfortable with Zoom. Some people are comfortable with FaceTime. Some of them, Google has Duo. We do phone calls. It's sometimes a mix of all three, because sometimes I'll meet with somebody, especially the older kids who might have their own phone. I will meet with them with whoever's, whether it's a foster parent or depending on where they're in placement. And then I will say, if you want to have a second conversation privately on a telephone call, just call me. So one, I get the ability to watch them and see how they're doing. And then 2, I can have a separate conversation. For the most part, people have been very receptive to being able to meet on the various video platforms. And it's certainly a lot easier to get to kids right now. And of course, it's the summer, so kids are not in school. But it's a lot easier to schedule appointments with people this way. And I always tell people, like they say on the radio, at the 8s. So between the 8s, 8 in the morning and 8 p.m., I will take a phone call from any client. Sometimes even later than that, but generally no one's up before 8, and after 8 they want to be doing their own thing. So I'm connecting with a lot of people that way, and it's been pretty effective.
Right. Yeah, because I know we always be trying to get all our visits in. We just be on the weekends. We're trying to run, you're going from house to house. And so, yeah, that's got to be intense. And what about, I know there have been some concerns in the news. They've talked about COVID, about there being a concern of an increase of like domestic violence and violence against children. Like, are you guys seeing anything like that at the juvenile court, or is it how?
I think slowly things are picking up. I can tell you, as magistrate, I would normally see a decent number of domestic violence charges every month. It would be unusual to go a month without one. And we were not seeing for March, April, and probably most of May, many domestic violence cases. And it may be that they were unreported, but also, and of course, the police were not necessarily arresting as much as they would, because I think the police in our jurisdiction are pretty enlightened and pretty well trained. And so I think they were using their skills of mediation and trying to settle people down as opposed to taking somebody in. But as the summer started to warm up and people are starting to get more bored with each other, it definitely has increased over the last 6 weeks. There's no question about it. It's the human nature. Part of human nature is that people get bored and angry eventually. I also understand on the family law side that divorces are starting to pick up now.
Yes, I mean, I can tell you that. I do divorces, I do family law, and I've had an increase. I've got a call from somebody. I have to call them. They called me earlier. Yes, there's been more. You got, sometimes people are like, some of them are uncontested, and some people are like, they're ready. Some of them have been separated, but some of them are just like, I heard about this in China too. They said it was an increase in divorces after people started being able to, have more freedom, because I think they were just cooped up together for so long. I mean, in some cases, it could be a good thing. People get engaged, they get married, and then in other cases, people are like, I'm sick of you, and I want a divorce.
And of course, the biggest reasons for divorce typically are because of stress and like imposed by financial conditions. And so many people were off work that they were stressed out about work or income or the future of their jobs. And then you couple that with a lot of people had health challenges. And so then you start having mental health issues, and there's just stress, and you're cooped up. And you're normally, maybe you spend, if a couple is working, maybe you spend 6 to 8 hours a day together at the most, maybe an hour in the morning before work, 3 or 4 hours after work, maybe 5 hours, then you sleep, you go to work. So now people are spending this 24/7, and maybe they're finding that they don't enjoy that person's company nearly as much as they did when it was only a part of the day. And so you add all that up, and it led to more domestic violence cases, more divorce cases, more family law cases in general. It's just been reported at every level that there's something as such thing as too much togetherness.
Right. No, I know for Black women lawyers in Michigan, we did some sessions with a couple of therapists. We brought in Dr. Sabrina Black, and she did a session with us, and she does telemedicine. So she'll do individual counseling or counseling with couples, grief counseling. And so I've definitely, with my clients for criminal cases or family law or education, whatever it is, I've encouraged them to seek out the telehealth as an option. To, and people have to, I think they have to kind of set up it helps, I think, to set up a schedule, like on the educational cases. I have parents, a lot of my friends that have kids are like, oh my gosh. But I think if they set up a schedule, if they have some time to exercise. I know you're a vegetarian, or are you a vegan or a vegetarian?
I'm vegan with occasional wild caught sushi, especially sushi, but fish. But yeah, try to eat healthy.
Well, that's like a pescatarian. Okay.
Yeah. We call it flexitarian.
Oh, it's a what? Okay, flexitarian. So, okay, and so what I was going to ask too. So you have your campaign going right now, and you have the primary is August 4th, and then so you have, I think you said, we talked before, 6 people in the race, and then 2 people from that race will continue on for November?
That's right.
Okay. And then
That's right.
if somebody wants to volunteer with you, what do they do? How do they reach you?
Well, I have a Facebook page, which is Richard Halprin for 45th District Judge. Um, I have a website, which is votehalprin.com. At both of those places, I can take messages or emails. I'm
Okay.
very active on Facebook. It was almost by necessity because of the pandemic. People can call me if they wanted to. I'm happy to speak to people whether they want to volunteer, if they have ideas. I love learning from what other people have experienced, what they've perceived. Every day is a good learning experience, so an opportunity to see things from a different point of view. So I love to hear from people.
Right. I know I saw a couple of your, well, one of your commercials I thought was really good. And is that on social media, or are you going to try to put that on any like local community access or anything like that?
It's been mostly on social media. It's on YouTube. I think it's on. I also have an Instagram page, and it's been all over social media, especially Facebook. I think it's, if you're referring to the one where it's the walk, the sort of imagine what it would be like to go door to door video.
Yeah.
It was very well received. It's got over 11,000 views. I was very excited by the response. It was just something I came up with one day when I realized that the pandemic was going to shut us down. It was before the governor had issued any executive orders. I got a crew together. I said, come on over. I have an idea for an ad. Let's do it. Let's knock it out and get it done. And it went really well.
Yeah, no, I thought it's a cool ad. And can you tell the audience, so, you know, you have 6 other candidates, or 5 other, what is it? 5 other candidates.
5 others. Yep.
So what separates you from the candidates? Why do you think that you're the best person for this job as judge?
Well, I think that, you know, anybody who's been an attorney for 5 years is technically qualified to run for judge. The thing that distinguishes me from any of the other candidates is that my background is in both criminal law and civil law, and district courts cover both criminal and civil law. My background, as you know, when you do the work that we did with Michigan Children's Law Center, you get to meet kids and families that come from challenging situations from every age up. And so I've gotten a really good understanding of every kind of person and the background of what can cause people to make that wrong turn. Sometimes nothing happens till they're 12 or 20 or whatever it is. But having practiced in juvenile court, district court, circuit court, and also practice in probate court, you get a really global perspective on what makes people tick, what makes them happy, what makes them unhappy. And then the 14 years that I've spent as magistrate, as you said earlier, the thousands and thousands and thousands of cases I've done, I have learned to be able to talk to every kind of person that comes through our court. We'll see the wealthy, we'll see the working class, we'll see every kind of race, ethnicity, young people, old people, and they all have some things in common. And what I've learned over the years is that when people come to court, a lot of them don't have any trust in the system, and they're really nervous. And you have to be able to see the world through all of their eyes when you come through. And the only way to understand how people feel in court is to, 1, having represented them for 30 years, 2, to look at them from the perspective of a court. When you're running a courtroom, you have to have so many different skills. You have to have people skills, dealing with the public. You have to be able to pay attention to what's going on with the people. You have to pay attention to what's going on with law enforcement or witnesses, with the clerks, with the staff. Every courtroom in any given day, any docket's got a particular personality. Sometimes there's more angst. Sometimes it's more like lightweight. You have to have a feel for how to run a courtroom, and you don't have that naturally. You have to have an understanding based on everything you've observed. And I've been to so many courts over the years, and been probably in front of 100 different judges or more, probably 40 different courts. And so I had this learning experience that can't possibly be replicated by any of the other candidates, because they have never sat for 14 years or even for 14 minutes on a bench, understanding how to deal with the very different personalities that come through. And some people have a knack for being able to do it, and some people don't. And so there's no mystery with me what kind of judge I would be. I've been telling people as a private attorney and as a magistrate, I've been showing them what kind of person I would be as a judge, and it's out there, and I've gotten nothing but good feedback from anyone who's come through my court.
Okay, all right. Well, I know that you have a busy schedule, as do I. So I want to thank you for taking this time to talk to the audience. And, you know, I wish you good luck for your campaign. And again, you said the date is August 4th, or people could be voting now. They could be voting, absentee?
It's ongoing. The expectation from the people who are sort of the experts, even though no one's an expert in campaigning during a pandemic, the expectation is that there aren't going to be that many people showing up at the polls, that an enormous percentage will have voted by sometime next week. And so there'll still be people that will come in, but most people are going to vote by mail. At least that's the expectation.
Right. Okay, well, good luck to you. And again, let's just repeat for the audience, if they want to find out more about you, where do they need to go?
All right, you can go to my Facebook page, which is Richard Halprin for 45th District Court Judge. You can go to votehalprin.com or Instagram, Richard Halprin on Instagram. Any of those, or you can call me. I'd be happy to speak with you. My phone numbers are on all the websites. I don't shy away from anybody who's seeking information or perspective. I'm there for it. So I really appreciate your time. Like we said in the beginning, you have to be creative these days with campaigning, and so an opportunity to reach people through Facebook is a great opportunity for me.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you, Rick. And everybody, you know, look out. We have, obviously we're on Facebook, but we'll also be putting this on Robyn Legal on YouTube, and yeah, have a good campaign. So I'll talk to you later,
I
Rick.
appreciate it. Thank you, Robyn. Bye-bye.
Okay, you're welcome. Talk to you later.